There is a quiet, deceptive phase in the life of a cucumber plant that catches even the most passionate home gardeners off guard. You walk out to your backyard garden on a warm summer morning, and everything looks absolutely picture perfect. The vines are climbing vigorously up the trellis, the leaves are wide, lush, and a deep, vibrant green, and the very first tiny yellow blossoms are starting to pop open. It feels like a triumph. You assume that because the foliage looks incredibly healthy, your harvest is guaranteed to be spectacular. But beneath that beautiful green canopy, a silent crisis is brewing. Most gardeners don't know this, but this exact moment is when the cucumber plant enters its most perilous and energy-demanding stage of life, the transition from vegetative growth to fruit development. Up until this point, the plant has spent all its energy building its structural frame, growing leaves to capture sunlight and establishing a root system. But the moment those first tiny cucumbers begin to form, the plant's internal chemistry undergoes a massive, sudden shift. It must now divert its limited resources away from leaf production and channel them directly into developing heavy, water-filled, seed-bearing fruits. If the soil lacks the precise balance of minerals required during this sudden transition, the plant will not die immediately. Instead, it will quietly begin to exhaust itself. It will prioritize survival over yield. You might not notice anything wrong for a week or two, but internally, the plant is starving. This starvation doesn't show up as dramatic wilting. Rather, it manifests as a slow, disappointing decline in your harvest. The plant may start dropping its blossoms before they can set fruit. The cucumbers that do manage to grow might turn out small, misshapen, or hollow. Here is where the real secret begins. To prevent this silent decline, we have to look closely at how the plant communicates its needs. Long before a cucumber vine completely fails, it sends out subtle distress signals. If you know what to look for, you can save your harvest before it's too late. One of the most common signs of mineral deficiency during the early fruiting stage is a condition similar to blossom end rot in tomatoes. You will notice the blossom end of the young cucumber turning yellow, then brown, and finally rotting away. This is a classic indicator that the plant cannot transport enough calcium to the rapidly growing fruit walls. Another warning sign is deformed fruit. If your cucumbers are shaped like light bulbs, skinny at the stem end but swollen and bulbous at the bottom, or if they are severely curved and stunted, your plant is crying out for potassium. Potassium is the element responsible for regulating water pressure and moving sugars throughout the plant. When it is lacking, the fruit cannot fill out evenly. You might also notice the margins of the older leaves turning a pale yellow or dry brown, a symptom known as leaf scorch. An old-timer once showed me that if you wait until these symptoms are severe, you are already playing catch-up, and your total yield will be cut in half. The key to a legendary cucumber harvest is proactive nutrition. We need to feed the soil so the soil can feed the roots, and we must do it using ingredients that are highly bioavailable. This means the plant can absorb them instantly, rather than waiting months for organic matter to break down naturally in the dirt. To solve this nutritional bottleneck, we have to look at one of the most common household kitchen scraps: eggshells. For generations, gardeners have been told to crush up eggshells and toss them directly into the planting hole or scatter them around the base of their plants. But if you have ever dug up your garden bed at the end of the season, you probably noticed those eggshells looked exactly the same as the day you put them in. This is the step many people skip, and it is a massive mistake. Eggshells consist primarily of calcium carbonate, which typically makes up more than 90% of the shell's composition. Calcium carbonate is an incredibly stable, hard mineral. It is virtually insoluble in plain water. If you simply throw crushed eggshells into your soil, it can take several years for soil microbes and natural acidity to break them down into a form that a plant's roots can actually drink. Your fruiting cucumbers need calcium right now, not 3 years from now. To unlock this locked-up calcium, we have to use a bit of simple kitchen chemistry to mimic and accelerate nature's decomposition process. What happened next when I first tried this method surprised me, and it completely changed the way I look at organic fertilizers. First, we need to gather about 4 to 5 clean eggshells. It is crucial to wash them thoroughly to remove any remaining egg white residue, which can attract unwanted pests or mold. Once washed, let them dry completely. Dry eggshells are much easier to process and will grind into a much finer powder. Once your eggshells are bone dry, place them into a high-powered blender or a clean coffee grinder. Grind them until they reach the consistency of a fine flour-like powder. The science behind this is beautiful yet simple. By grinding the shells into a fine powder, we are dramatically increasing their surface area. A larger surface area means that when we introduce our liquid catalyst in the next step, the chemical reaction will proceed with maximum efficiency, unlocking the calcium almost instantly. Transfer this fine eggshell powder into a clean glass jar or cup. Now we are going to introduce our catalyst, standard household vinegar. Vinegar contains acetic acid, typically at a 5% concentration. When you pour the vinegar over the eggshell powder, you will immediately witness an active bubbling reaction. This effervescent bubbling is the visual proof of chemistry at work. The acetic acid is actively breaking the strong chemical bonds of the calcium carbonate. As the acid reacts with the carbonate, it releases carbon dioxide gas, which creates the bubbles and leaves behind calcium ions bound to acetate. This new compound is calcium acetate, which is highly soluble in water. Pour just enough vinegar to completely submerge the powder, leaving a bit of extra room at the top of the container because the mixture will foam up significantly as it reacts. This is the moment where we must be patient. We need to let this mixture sit and soak for about 24 hours. During this quiet period, the reaction will run its course until almost all of the insoluble calcium has been converted into a liquid, highly bioavailable elixir that your cucumber plants can absorb the very moment it touches their roots. After 24 hours have passed, you will notice that the intense bubbling has stopped, and a fine sediment has settled at the bottom of your container. The liquid above it is now rich in soluble calcium. But we cannot pour this concentrated mixture directly onto our plants just yet. Concentrated vinegar is highly acidic, and pouring it directly onto your garden soil would shock the delicate root systems of your cucumbers and disrupt the beneficial soil microbes. To make this elixir safe and highly effective, we must dilute it. Pour the entire mixture, including any remaining sediment, into a large watering can. Next, add about 1 liter of clean, chlorine-free water. This is roughly equivalent to 4 standard cups of water. This dilution neutralizes the harsh acidity of the vinegar while keeping the dissolved calcium perfectly suspended in the liquid, ready for uptake. But we aren't done yet. This is where the magic doubles. While calcium is essential for building strong cell walls and preventing blossom and rot, your cucumbers also require a massive amount of potassium to develop sweet, crisp, and plump fruits. To provide this, we are going to add 1 tablespoon of clean, pure wood ash to our diluted calcium mixture. Wood ash is a gold mine for organic gardeners, but it must be used with precision. It is incredibly rich in potassium, which acts as the ultimate traffic cop inside the plant. Potassium regulates the opening and closing of the stomata on the leaves, controls water use, and most importantly, facilitates the transport of sugars created during photosynthesis from the leaves straight into the growing cucumbers. Without sufficient potassium, your cucumbers will taste bland, watery, and lack that satisfying, crisp crunch. However, there is a crucial warning you must keep in mind. Wood ash is highly alkaline. It contains calcium carbonate and potassium carbonate, which can rapidly raise the pH of your soil if used in excess. Cucumbers prefer a slightly acidic to neutral soil pH, ideally between 6.0 and 6.8. If you use too much wood ash, you can make the soil overly alkaline, which actually locks up other essential micronutrients like iron and manganese, causing your leaves to turn yellow and stunt plant growth. 1 tablespoon per liter of water is the perfect safe ratio to deliver a potent dose of potassium without disrupting your soil chemistry. Before we apply this powerful dual-action nutrient solution to our garden, there is a physical step that most gardeners overlook, yet it makes a massive difference in how the plant responds. You must gently loosen the soil around the base of your cucumber plants before watering. Over the course of the growing season, watering and foot traffic can compress the soil around your plants, creating a hard crust. This crust acts as a barrier, causing liquid fertilizers to run off the surface rather than penetrating deep into the root zone. Using a small hand fork or your fingers, Gently scratch the top inch of soil around the base of the vine, being extremely careful not to damage the shallow, delicate feeder roots of the cucumber. Loosening the soil not only ensures our nutrient solution reaches the deep roots, but it also introduces a fresh pocket of oxygen into the soil, which stimulates root respiration and allows the plant to absorb the incoming nutrients with incredible efficiency. Now that your soil is prepared and your nutrient-dense solution is thoroughly mixed, it is time for the application. The way you apply this mixture is just as important as the ingredients themselves. Measure out approximately 200 milliliters of the solution for each individual cucumber plant. This is slightly less than 1 cup. When you pour it, focus your stream directly onto the loosened soil around the base of the plant, right where the main stem meets the ground. Do not splash this mixture onto the leaves. This is the step many people skip because it seems easier to just shower the entire plant from above. However, wet foliage, especially when treated with mixtures containing organic matter or wood ash, creates a perfect breeding ground for fungal spores. Cucumbers are notoriously susceptible to powdery mildew, a devastating fungal disease that can coat your beautiful green leaves in a white flour-like dust and kill the vine within weeks. By watering the root zone directly, you keep the leaves dry, reduce the risk of disease, and ensure that every single drop of your homemade fertilizer goes exactly where the plant can use it. The root system. The results of this targeted feeding become visible just days later, and watching the transformation is one of the most rewarding parts of gardening. Within 3 to 4 days of the first application, you will notice a distinct change in the strength of the vines. The stems will appear thicker and more robust, a direct result of the soluble calcium strengthening the plant's cellular walls. By day 7, you will see a dramatic reduction in blossom drop. The yellow flowers will remain firmly attached to the vine, and the tiny cucumbers at their base will begin to swell rapidly. Instead of turning yellow and soft at the tips, the young fruits will grow straight, firm, and uniform. By the second week, you will begin harvesting cucumbers that are noticeably heavier, crisper, and packed with flavor. The skin will have a beautiful, healthy sheen, and when you slice them open, you will find a dense, solid interior with no hollow cavities. To maintain this high level of productivity and prevent the vine from burning out mid-season, you can safely repeat this application once every 2 to 3 weeks throughout the entire fruiting cycle. This consistent, gentle supply of calcium and potassium ensures that the plant never experiences a nutritional dip, allowing it to produce a continuous, heavy yield of gourmet-quality cucumbers from early summer all the way until the first frost of autumn. If you have struggled with bitter, hollow, or misshapen cucumbers in the past, or if you have watched your healthy vines suddenly decline just as the harvest begins, this natural low-cost method is the ultimate solution. It bypasses the slow breakdown of traditional fertilizers and delivers raw, vital nutrition directly to the roots when they need it most. Have you ever tried using eggshells or wood ash in your garden? Or do you have a favorite heirloom fertilizer recipe passed down through your family? Share your experiences, successes, and questions in the comments below. Let's keep the conversation going, support one another in growing the most abundant gardens possible, and continue learning the beautiful science of natural homesteading together.